What does betrayal worth $85 million look like? My name is Maya Richardson, and 3 years ago, I made a choice that would define everything. When my father collapsed from a stroke at his downtown office, I didn't hesitate. I abandoned my architectural career, the Dubai Marina Complex project that would have launched me into international recognition, and flew home on the next available flight. My younger sister, Sophie, was pursuing her brand in Paris. Someone had to be there. The doctors were blunt. He'll need constant care, 18 months minimum. Full recovery could take years. My mother had passed 5 years earlier. Sophie was building her Instagram following in Europe. The choice was mine alone. For 3 years, I became invisible. While Sophie posted champagne toasts at Fashion Week, I learned the difference between blood thinners. While she sent brief video calls on Sundays, "Kiss Daddy for me," I managed 16 medical specialists, negotiated with insurance companies, and kept my father's business from collapsing. The Dubai clients waited 3 weeks before hiring someone else. But here's what nobody knew. I held a master's degree from MIT. I was the youngest recipient of the Emerging Designer Award from the Boston Society of Architects. And between midnight therapy sessions and early morning medication schedules, I was building something they couldn't see. 8 weeks ago, everything changed. My father could walk again. His speech had returned. The business was stable, largely because I'd been managing it behind the scenes. Then Sophie came home. She arrived with designer luggage and a perfect tan, wrapping our father in expensive perfume. "Daddy, you look incredible. I knew you'd fight through this." Within hours, the narrative shifted. Sophie's time in Paris became maintaining crucial international connections. Her absence transformed into strategic positioning. Her 5-minute video calls were now constant emotional support from abroad. "Sophie understands the business world," my father announced over dinner, the low-sodium meal I'd perfected over 3 years. "She's been networking with European investors." I watched her nod with practiced confidence. Though I'd seen her LinkedIn profile, she'd been a junior coordinator at a PR firm specializing in fashion bloggers. 3 days later, the board meeting invitation arrived, for Sophie only. "You've done enough, Maya," my father said when I questioned it. "Time to let your sister step up." Done enough. 3 years compressed into a polite dismissal? Chapter 2. The family meeting. The announcement came on a Tuesday afternoon. My father sat at the head of the dining table, Sophie to his right, me to his left. His attorney laid out documents with ceremonial precision. "I have made decisions about the future," my father began. "Richardson Development Group needs fresh leadership. Sophie has shown me the vision to move us forward." Ice water in my veins. "I'm leaving her the company. All of it." He detailed the portfolio: commercial properties, the waterfront developments, the historic district buildings, the tech park, the residential holdings, $85 million in assets, the empire my grandfather built from a single office building in 1962. "Maya, you'll receive $50,000. I know business has never interested you, and this will help you pursue your hobbies." Hobbies. My architecture degree? My professional license? My career? Sophie squeezed my hand with practiced sympathy. "You understand, right? You're just not built for this world, but I'll always take care of you." The attorney pushed forward a non-compete clause. Standard practice, it prevents family members from working with Richardson Development competitors or clients for 5 years. "But I'm not," I started. "Sign here," my father interrupted. "Let's not complicate this." 3 years of sacrifice, and I was worth less than his wine collection. I looked at the pen, at Sophie's satisfied smile, at my father's impatient expression. "When do you need this signed?" "Shareholders' meeting is in 3 days. 3 days to surrender everything, or 3 days to change everything." Chapter 3. The letter. That night, alone in my childhood bedroom, where I'd drafted my first building designs at 12, I opened my private email. The subject line made my hands tremble. "Congratulations, Titan Biotech Headquarters Project Award. Dear Ms. Richardson, after extensive review, the board has unanimously selected your proposal for our new headquarters complex. Your innovative approach to sustainable design and urban integration exceeded all expectations. The $45 million contract details are attached. We look forward to announcing this partnership at our press conference on March 15th. Best regards, Cameron Walsh, CEO, Titan Biotech Industries. Cameron Walsh, the same executive who just called Sophie to congratulate her on taking over Richardson Development. The same company my father's firm had been pursuing for 2 years. They'd chosen me, not because of my last name, but despite it. For 2 years, while managing my father's recovery, I'd been building M. Richardson architecture under my middle initial. Small projects at first, a boutique hotel, a community center, a startup's offices, each one a stepping stone. Titan Biotech was the leap. I called my attorney, Sarah Chen, who'd helped me establish the firm. Sarah, I need to understand something about non-compete clauses, specifically whether they apply to family members who've been formally disinherited. Her response was immediate. They don't. Your father made one critical error. The non-compete only applies to employees, not family members he's disowned. Perfect. Chapter 4, The Strategy. Sarah Chen's office occupied the 40th floor of one financial center overlooking the harbor where I designed my award-winning pavilion. She spread my father's documents across her glass desk. Your father's attorney is competent but traditional. This non-compete is airtight for employees and partners. She looked up, eyes sharp. But you're neither. The moment you sign that inheritance waiver, you're formally excluded from the family business structure. So I can operate freely? She leaned back. Better than freely, you can compete directly. She leaned back. I represented your father once, 5 years ago. Property dispute. He tried to underpay a contractor who'd done exceptional work. I represented the contractor. We won. He called me a shark with lipstick. I had business cards made. I laughed, the first genuine laugh in weeks. Here's what I propose, Sarah continued. Sign their papers, take the $50,000, then announce Maya Richardson architecture at the most public moment possible. The shareholders meeting? March 15th, 200 people at the Ritz-Carlton, where Richardson Development has held every major announcement for 30 years. The media will already be there. The board, the investors, everyone who matters. It feels calculated. No, Maya, calculated getting you $50,000 for 3 years of unpaid labor. This is justice with compound interest. We spent 2 hours crafting the timeline, every detail planned, every contingency covered. One more thing, Sarah said, as I prepared to leave. That Titan Biotech contract. I know Cameron Walsh. He doesn't make decisions lightly. You earned this. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me after March 15th. Chapter 5, The Countdown. I signed the Indus inheritance papers at 11:47 a.m. My signature steady and deliberate. My father didn't even look at me. He was already toasting with relatives, celebrating Sophie's coronation. Sophie had prepared a speech, naturally. Family means everything to me. These past 8 weeks watching Dottie recover have shown me what true leadership means. 8 weeks. She'd been home 8 weeks. Maya, she continued, turning to me with her PR smile, thank you for keeping things tidy while I was building our international presence. Your organizational skills have been so helpful. Organizational skills. I'd negotiated 3 contract renewals that seemed Richardson Development $4 million. But sure, organizational skills. At least smile, Maya. Try to be happy for your sister. I smiled. I raised my glass. To Sophie. May she get exactly what she deserves. Everyone laughed, missing the precision of my words. 2 days until the shareholders meeting. 2 days until everything they believed would shatter. Chapter 6, The Preparation. The next 36 hours moved with surgical precision. Sarah assembled a team, a publicist who specialized in corporate announcements, a design director for the presentation, even a stylist. You're not just announcing a contract explained, you're establishing a brand. Maya Richardson architecture needs to appear fully formed, professional, undeniable. The presentation came together beautifully. 15 slides showcasing 5 years of work nobody knew was mine. the Harborside Hotel that Richardson Development had tried to win, the innovation lab my father had praised at a board meeting, never knowing his invisible daughter had designed every angle. Cameron Walsh called personally. "Ms. Richardson, we're sending our entire board. This is our largest contract ever. We want to do it right. Will you mention Richardson Development?" Only to note we reviewed their proposal and found it lacking. Meanwhile, Sarah insisted on triple documentation. "Your father will look for any crack. We're not giving him one." The stylist selected a black Armani suit. Powerful, but not aggressive. You want to look like success, not revenge. "Isn't it both?" "The best revenge," she said, "is so elegant, no one can call it revenge." The night before, I couldn't sleep. Instead, I walked through my apartment and looked at my diplomas. MIT, Boston Architecture College, the AIA award I'd won 6 months ago, while my father was relearning to walk. Tomorrow, one of two things would happen. I'd destroy my relationship with my family forever, or I'd finally build something real from the ashes of their disrespect. My phone buzzed. Cameron Walsh. "See you tomorrow. We're excited to work with someone who understands that buildings aren't just about profit, they're about people." In 12 hours, one of us would lose everything. I was betting it wouldn't be me. Chapter 7. The Shareholders' Meeting. The Ritz-Carlton's Grand Ballroom had been Richardson Development's temple for 30 years. Every major deal announced under these crystal chandeliers. I arrived at 2:30, sliding into a fifth-row seat. Close enough to see everything, far enough to remain unnoticed. Sophie stood near the podium in red Valentino, practicing her smile for photographers. My father worked the room like the stroke had never happened. At precisely 2:55, he took the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this momentous occasion. Richardson Development has stood for excellence for 60 years. Today, we begin our next chapter. Legacy, vision, innovation. The words washed over the audience like expensive cologne. It is my great pleasure to introduce the next CEO of Richardson Development, my daughter." The courier entered through the side door at that exact moment. His timing? Perfect. "Mr. Richardson, urgent delivery, signature required." My father frowned, but maintained composure. "My daughter, Sophie Richardson." The courier reached the podium as applause began. "Mr. Richardson, I need your signature, time sensitive." 200 people watched him wrestle with protocol. Refusing would look weak. Accepting would disrupt Sophie's moment. "One moment," he said, signing quickly. He glanced at the envelope. His face changed when he saw my handwriting. He opened it. I watched his eyes scan the first line, then the second. Confused to pale to red in 10 seconds. Sophie had already begun her speech. As you all know, Richardson Development has been pursuing several major contracts. The Titan Biotech headquarters, for instance. "What do you mean you're taking the Titan contract?" My father's voice cut through her speech. The microphone caught every word. The room froze. "Daddy?" Sophie turned, confused. He was reading out loud now, seemingly unable to stop. "They chose me, Father, not because I'm your daughter, but because I'm better." Is this some kind of joke? Sophie grabbed for the letter. He pulled it away, his eyes finding me in the crowd. "Maya, what is this?" I stood slowly, every head turned. "It's my resignation from the family business, and my announcement of a new beginning." Cameron Walsh rose from his table. "Perhaps I can help clarify." Sophie's composure cracked. "Who are you?" "Cameron Walsh, CEO of Titan Biotech Industries, the company you just mentioned. Though I should note, Miss Richardson, we're not a software company." The room erupted in whispers. Sophie recovered quickly, but clumsily. "Of course, Titan Biotech, the technology firm. We've been working closely on your expansion into sustainable technology." Cameron's eyebrows rose. "We're a biomedical company, Miss Richardson. We develop cancer treatment facilities." The whispers grew louder. I saw investors leaning toward each other, board members exchanging glances. "Daddy," Sophie hissed, her mic still hot, "fix this." But my father was still staring at the letter, reading about the buildings I'd designed, his buildings, the ones he'd praised at board meetings. The Harborside Hotel renovation. You designed the Harborside Hotel? Among others, I replied. Sophie grabbed the microphone. This is obviously a misunderstanding. Maya has always been supportive of the family business in her limited capacity. If she's done some freelance sketching... Sketching? Cameron interrupted. Maya submitted a comprehensive proposal that revolutionizes biomedical facility design. Her integration of patient care spaces with research facilities is groundbreaking. But she's not even a real architect. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the presentation system Sophie had set up for her own announcement. My credentials filled the screen. MIT Master's Degree. Licensed Architect. AIA Emerging Architect Award 2024. I've been a licensed architect for 7 years. You just never asked. The Journal reporter was typing furiously. The Bloomberg photographer was capturing everything. My uncle stood up. Robert, what is going on here? My father finally found his voice. Maya, we need to discuss this privately. No, I said. You chose this venue, this audience, this moment. Let's finish what you started. Chapter 8, The Revelation. I walked to the podium with the same measured pace I'd used for 3 years bringing my father his medications. Calm, steady, inevitable. Good afternoon. I'm Maya Richardson, founder and principal architect of M. Richardson Architecture. The screen behind me changed. My company logo appeared, clean, modern, nothing like Richardson Development's dated crest. For the past 5 years, while managing my father's recovery, I've built a portfolio of sustainable, human-centered designs, buildings that prioritize people over profit margins. I clicked through the slides. Each project appeared with its accolades, impact metrics, innovation scores. The audience leaned forward. 3 days ago, my father valued my contribution to this family at $50,000. Today, I'm announcing that M. Richardson Architecture has secured the Titan Biotech Industries headquarters project, a $45 million contract that will create over 200 jobs and establish a new standard for medical facility design. The contract appeared on screen. Signed, sealed, indisputable. My father stepped forward. Maya, this is highly unregular. What's irregular is expecting someone to sacrifice 3 years of their life for free, then dismissing them with less than you'd pay a junior associate. Your family, he protested. Exactly, which makes it worse. I turned back to the audience. Richardson Development built its reputation on traditional values. M. Richardson Architecture builds on something different: innovation, sustainability, and the radical idea that buildings should serve the people who use them, not just the people who own them. Cameron stood. Titan is proud to partner with M. Richardson Architecture. We believe Maya represents the future of architectural design. The Journal reporter raised her hand. Ms. Richardson, are you suggesting Richardson Development is outdated? I met my father's eyes. I'm suggesting that invisible daughters sometimes see things others miss, including opportunities. Chapter 9, The Evidence. Let me show you what invisible work looks like, I said, advancing to the next slide. The screen filled with a detailed timeline. 3 years. Every project I'd touched, every building I'd designed, every contract I'd saved while my father recovered. The Harborside Hotel renovation, Richardson Development's most praised project of 2023. I'd designed it between physical therapy sessions. The Innovation Lab at Kendall Square, completed while managing 16 medical specialists. The Phoenix Community Center, drafted during 43 nights I'd slept at the hospital. Each building appeared with its accolades, press coverage, financial impact. You might recognize some of these buildings, I continued. Richardson Development properties. The Seaport Towers renovation that saved $2 million in environmental fees. That was my sustainable design. The historic district restoration the Globe called architectural poetry. I'd submitted those plans under a pseudonym while Sophie was in Paris. One of the board members stood up. Robert, what is going on here? My father's silence was answer enough.
Cameron opened his briefcase. For the record, Maya's proposal for Titan wasn't just better than Richardson Developments. It wasn't even close. She understood something fundamental, that healing spaces need to be designed by someone who understands what it means to heal. The screen changed again. Video testimonials began playing. My former clients, praising work they never knew was connected to the Richardson name. Sophie tried one last time. This is corporate espionage. She used insider information. Sarah stood from her seat. I'm Maya's legal counsel. Everything was done properly, including her right to compete after being disinherited. Chapter 10, the numbers. Let's talk specifics, I said, clicking to the financial slide. The screen displayed the contract details in stark clarity. $45 million over 3 years. Design, consultation, and project management for a 500,000 square foot facility. But that's just the beginning. The next slide showed economic projections. 212 permanent jobs, 18 million in annual economic impact, a LEED Platinum certification that would save Titan $3 million annually in operating costs. I paused. Richardson Development's proposal projected 150 jobs and gold certification. The difference? They saw buildings. I saw people. This is ridiculous, my father exploded. You can't possibly manage a project of this scale. I managed your recovery. 16 specialists, 12 medications, 3 therapies, daily blood work, insurance negotiations, board communications, all while maintaining my architecture practice. I think I can handle one building. The Bloomberg reporter stood. Miss Richardson, what's your projected revenue for year 1? 8 million base, with performance bonuses potentially bringing it to 12 million. And Richardson Development's revenue last year?
I smiled. Ask their new CEO. I'm sure she has those numbers memorized. Sophie stood frozen at the podium. Her prepared speech crumbled in her hand. For context, Cameron added, Titan represents 15% of Richardson Development's target revenue for next year. I should say that projection will need updating. The room erupted. Board members surrounded my father. Investors pulled out phones. The press pushed forward. One more thing, I said over the noise. M. Richardson Architecture will be hiring. Anyone interested in building something new instead of maintaining something old is welcome to apply. 3 Richardson Development employees immediately stepped forward. Chapter 11, the exit. I gathered my materials with the same precision I'd used to organize my father's medications for 3 years. No rush, no drama, just professional completion. Before I go, I said, the room quieting again, I want to thank my father. His head snapped up, hope flickering in his eyes. You taught me that business is about leverage, about timing, about knowing your worth and demanding it be recognized. I paused. You also taught me what not to do, how not to treat people, how not to define value. Those lessons were equally valuable. I turned to Sophie. Good luck with Richardson Development. I'm sure your 8 weeks of experience will serve you well. A word of advice. Titan isn't the only contract you'll be losing. Morrison Construction is also reconsidering. You might want to actually read those files I organized. You can't do this, she whispered. I already have. I addressed the room one final time. M. Richardson Architecture officially opens Monday. We're located at 1 Financial Center, 40th floor. Cameron joined me as I walked toward the exit. Shall we discuss the Phase 2 expansion? After the press conference, I agreed. My father's voice boomed behind us. Maya, you can't just walk out. I turned at the door. I'm not walking out, Dad. I'm walking forward. There's a difference. The last thing I saw before the doors closed was Sophie at the podium, mouth open, no words coming out, while the Journal reporter asked her to spell Titan for the record. Chapter 12, The Aftermath. By 6 p.m., the story was everywhere. Daughter outplays dynasty, the Richardson reversal that shocked Boston Business Journal. From caregiver to competitor, Maya Richardson's 3-year plan. Bloomberg. Family feud goes public. Richardson Development loses largest contract to disinherited daughter. Wall Street Journal. The video clips were devastating for my father. Someone had captured the exact moment he read my letter aloud. His confusion broadcast to 2 million viewers in 48 hours. Sophie's software company, gaffe, became a meme. #TitanGate trended locally. Sarah called as I watched the coverage from my apartment. Richardson Development stock closed down 8%. The board called an emergency meeting tomorrow. Any legal threats? Your father's attorney called. I reminded him about the signed disinheritance papers. He hung up rather quickly. My phone buzzed constantly. Former colleagues, architecture school friends, even professors I hadn't heard from in years. But the message that mattered came from Cameron. Brilliant execution. The press conference tomorrow will solidify everything. Titan's board is delighted. Then came the unexpected messages. 3 Richardson Development employees asking for positions. 2 contractors my father had shortchanged offering their services. Even Morrison Construction. Your father cost me $2 million in 2019. I'd love to discuss exclusive partnership with M. Richardson Architecture. The Phoenix Community Center posted on LinkedIn. Proud to reveal that our award-winning renovation was designed by Maya Richardson of M. Richardson Architecture. Sometimes the best talent is hidden in plain sight. By midnight, 16 firms had shared similar revelations. My invisible portfolio was suddenly blindingly visible. But the number that mattered most appeared in my banking app. The first Titan deposit. $5 million. More than my father thought I was worth. In one day. Chapter 13. The dominoes. The dominoes fell faster than even Sarah had predicted. Morrison Construction was first. Effective immediately, Morrison Construction is suspending all joint ventures with Richardson Development pending leadership review. Then Harborside Properties. We were unaware that Maya Richardson designed our award-winning renovation. We'd like to discuss future projects with M. Richardson Architecture directly. By noon, my father had lost 3 more clients, not because of me, but because of Sophie, a disastrous morning interview where she'd confused commercial and residential zoning laws went viral within hours. My assistant, yes, I already had an assistant, poached from Richardson Development, forwarded the morning's inquiries. 12 potential clients, 8 job applications, 3 partnership proposals. Ms. Richardson, she said, Sophie's PR firm just dropped Richardson Development. Apparently she hadn't paid them for 3 months. The Bloomberg reporter called for a follow-up. Maya, Richardson Development's market cap has dropped 12% in 2 days. Any comment? I'm focused on building M. Richardson Architecture and serving our clients. I wish Richardson Development the best. What I didn't say, those departing employees were the ones who'd actually been running Richardson Development's operations. The institutional knowledge was walking out with them. Cameron texted, Phase 2 approved by board. Additional $20 million. Announcement next week. $65 million in total contracts in 72 hours. Chapter 14, Family Fractures. The family chose sides faster than I expected. My Aunt Patricia, who'd praised Sophie's business acumen 3 days ago, left a voicemail. Maya, darling, I always knew you were the talented one. Perhaps we could have lunch. Delete. My uncle was more direct.
Your father being impossible, the board wants Sophie out. She's a liability. I'm prepared to offer you a consulting contract. I have a non-compete with my own company now. Besides, I'm busy building something new. But the real surprise came from my mother's side of the family, the ones my father had slowly pushed away. Your mother would be so proud, Aunt Jennifer said when she called. She always said you had her father's gift for design. Did you know he was an architect too, before the war? I hadn't known that. My father never mentioned it. She saved everything, you know, every sketch you ever made. They're in a storage unit in Cambridge. She paid for it separately so Robert wouldn't know. That afternoon, I drove to the storage unit. Box after box of my childhood drawings, high school projects, college portfolios, and at the bottom, a letter in my mother's handwriting. My darling Maya, if you're reading this, you finally found your voice. I've watched you dim your light for others' comfort. Stop. Build something magnificent. Love, Mom. The date was 6 years ago, a year before she died. She knew it. She'd been waiting for me to figure it out. Chapter 15, The Call. 7 days of silence from my father. Then, at 9 p.m. on a Thursday, my phone rang. Maya? His voice was controlled, CEO mode. We need to discuss the situation. What situation would that be? Don't be obtuse. The Titan contract, the employees you've poached, the clients you're stealing. I won a contract through merit. I hired people who approached me. Clients are making their own choices, just like you made yours. This is still fixable. Come back to Richardson Development. We'll create a position for you, Chief Design Officer, $700,000 a year. More than he'd ever paid anyone except himself. No, you're being emotional. I'm being practical. I have my own company now, my own contracts, my own future. Which you built using Richardson resources. Which I built while saving your life. The words came out sharper than intended. 3 years, Dad. 3 years of 18-hour days. And you valued it at $50,000? Silence. Then, if you want to meet, we can discuss a partnership, Richardson Development and M. Richardson Architecture. If you want to meet, it's at my office.
On my schedule, your office, 1 Financial Center, 40th floor. I have a view of the harbor. You can see the pavilion I designed from my desk. More silence. Tuesday, 2 p.m., he finally said, Tuesday, I have a client presentation. Thursday at 4, I'm your father. And I'm a CEO with a schedule. Thursday at 4, or we can try again next month. He hung up without confirming, but I knew he'd be there. His pride was wounded, but his business sense was intact. He needed this meeting more than I did. Chapter 16, The Negotiation 3:58 p.m. My father arrived alone. No lawyer, no Sophie. He looked older somehow. The past 10 days, adding years his recovery hadn't done my office, was deliberately impressive. Awards on the walls, the Titan contract framed, the views spectacular. Everything he'd taught me about power positioning turned back on him. Coffee? I offered. This is ridiculous. Meyer, meeting like strangers. We are strangers. You made that clear when you valued my 3 years at less than your wine collection. He sat heavily in the client chair, another deliberate choice on my part. The board wants Sophie out. That's not my problem. She's your sister, who called me not cut out for business 10 days ago. He leaned forward. What do you want? Nothing from you. I have everything I need. Richardson Development needs the Titan connection. The market is responding to poor leadership decisions. Again, not my problem. His jaw tightened. A partnership then, Richardson Development and M. Richardson Architecture. Joint ventures, my terms or nothing, which are, I slid a folder across the desk. 50/50ths profit split on any joint ventures. My company maintains full autonomy, no oversight from Richardson Development, and Sophie completes a 2-year business degree before taking any executive role. I paused. These terms are non-negotiable. You taught me that. Remember? Never negotiate from weakness. He read through them, his face reddening. This gives you equal standing with a 60-year-old company. No, it gives me protection from a 60-year-old company that just lost 20% of its value because its CEO chose nepotism over merit. You planned this. I planned to be valued. When that didn't happen, I planned something else. He stood. I need to think about it. You have a week. After that, the terms change, and not in your favor. He signed 3 days later, not because he wanted to, but because the board demanded it. Chapter 17. The agreement met again, this time with lawyers. Sarah had drafted everything airtight. Separate brands, separate operations. I stated, Richardson Development and M. Richardson Architecture can collaborate on specific projects, but we maintain independence. Agreed. My father said through gritted teeth, Sophie gets no decision-making power until she completes an accredited business program. That's harsh. That's generous. The board wanted her gone entirely. He signed where Sarah indicated. One more thing, I added. All collaboration is project-based. Either party can walk away after each project completion. No long-term obligations. You don't trust me. I learned from you. Trust is earned, not inherited. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Respect is non-negotiable, I continued. In all meetings, all communications, all public interactions, this is business, not family. We are family. We're business associates who share DNA. You made that distinction when you valued my contribution at $50,000. I'm simply maintaining the boundaries you established. Sophie hadn't come to this meeting either. I'd heard she was in New York exploring options. Translation: hiding from the Boston business community that had turned her into a punchline. Is there anything else? My father asked. Defeated, yes. Mom's storage unit in Cambridge. I want the key. His surprise was genuine. You know about that. I know she saved every design I ever made. I know she believed in me when you didn't. I want what she left. He pulled the key from his wallet. I never looked inside. I know. If you had, none of this would have surprised you. We shook hands formally. No hug, no warmth, just business. Exactly what he taught me. Chapter 18. Successing months later, M. Richardson Architecture occupied half the 40th floor, 12 employees and growing. The Titan Biotech headquarters had broken ground, with fees to approved for an additional $20 million. The Sustainable Design Award Richardson Development had coveted for 5 years sat on my desk. Ms. Richardson, my assistant, announced, The Times is here for the interview. The New York Times was doing a feature on the new generation of architectural innovation. They'd called Richardson Development first. My father had referred them to me. Progress. The interviewer asked about the family drama. Family businesses are complicated, I said. Sometimes the best thing you can do is build something of your own. Your father recently called you the future of Boston architecture. He's being generous. What I didn't say, it had taken him 6 months to acknowledge what everyone else saw in 6 minutes. 3 of Richardson Development's best people now worked for me. They'd brought institutional knowledge and fresh perspectives. One of them, David, had been with my father for 15 years. Why leave? I'd asked during his interview, your father sees buildings as assets. You see them as spaces where life happens. I want to build for life. The Titan building was already winning pre-construction awards. The innovative patient care design was being studied by 3 universities. Cameron had introduced me to 4 other biomedical CEOs. You're building an empire, Sarah observed during our weekly lunch. I'm building something better, a legacy that isn't about domination. Chapter 19, Thanksgiving Thankings. Was the test the first family gathering since March. Sophie had returned from New York with enrollment confirmation from Wharton's executive MBA program. She looked different, humbled, maybe even thoughtful. Meyer, she said quietly while helping set the table, I need to apologize. I waited. I didn't know. About the 3 years. About what you actually did. Dad made it sound like you were just there. I was there. Every single day. I know that now. I've been reviewing the files. Your fingerprints are on everything. The Harborside project alone, I couldn't have managed that in perfect health, let alone while caring for someone. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. I actually wanted to ask, she continued. Would you consider mentoring me? Not publicly, I know I destroyed that bridge, but privately. I want to actually learn this business. Email me a proposal, what you want to learn, how you plan to apply it. I'll consider it. My father carved the turkey in silence, his movements precise, but uncertain. Mom had always directed the meal. Her absence felt larger this year. The Titan building looks impressive, my uncle offered, trying to ease the tension. Maya's doing exceptional work. My father said stiffly. It sounded rehearsed. Thanks, I replied, matching his tone. But later, while clearing plates, he stopped me in the kitchen. Your mother would be proud, he said quietly. I found some of her journals. She wrote about your talent constantly. I should have read them sooner. You should have seen it yourself. I know, he met my eyes for the first time in months. I see it now, because everyone else does. No, his voice was firm, because I finally stopped looking at what I wanted you to be and saw what you were. It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement. Chapter 20. The opening 1 year later. I stood in the completed atrium of the Titan Biotech headquarters. Sunlight streamed through the innovative glass design that merged healing spaces with research facilities. Doc Cameron stood beside me, along with 300 guests for the opening ceremony. This building, Cameron said into the microphone, represents what's possible when talent meets opportunity, when innovation meets purpose. My father was in the audience, front row. He'd asked to attend. I'd agreed. My speech was brief. The best inheritance ain't what you're given. It's what you build despite being given nothing. This building exists because sometimes the overlooked see what others miss. Sometimes the invisible become undeniable. Later, as guests toured the space, a young architect approached me. Ms. Richardson, I'm in a similar situation with my family's firm. They don't value what I bring. How did you find the courage? I didn't find courage. I found clarity. I paused, choosing my words carefully. There is a difference between being patient and being passive. Learn everything you can. Document everything you do. And when the moment comes in, you'll know when it comes. Choose yourself. Epilogue. The Legacy. Boston Globe ran a feature the next day, The Richardson Legacy. How Maya Richardson redefined success. But the moment that mattered most came that evening. I visited my mother's grave, something I did after every major milestone. I found my voice. Mom, just like you knew I would. The wind carried cherry blossoms across the cemetery. Her favorite. I'd planted the tree myself, paid for with my first M. Richardson architecture profit. Behind me, I heard footsteps. My father. He placed flowers beside mine. She'd be proud, he said. She was proud even when I was invisible. You were never invisible to her. I know. That's what saved me. We stood in silence, two successful CEOs who happened to share DNA. Finally understanding that legacy and what you leave behind. It's what others choose to build from the pieces. Author's note. If this story resonated with you, remember your worth isn't determined by those who refuse to see it. It's built by the work you do when no one's watching. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something so undeniable that the world has no choice but to notice. And sometimes the invisible become impossible to ignore.